Hello guys, good evening. I hope you guys are doing well and people have started joining in. We are into our workshop for AI/ML. So we are doing the masterclass of AI/ML. So yesterday also we were doing basic things on AI/ML. So I was just trying to clarify the basic jargons in artificial intelligence, machine learning. So we'll try to cover artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all that today. Okay, so I'll try to give you the brief of machine learning, deep learning, and maybe a bit of neural networks also. So I'll try to introduce all of those topics to you. So whatever we left yesterday, so we'll talk about that. Hello, good evening, Career Hunt. Good evening, XD. Thank you so much for joining in. So, as always, guys, I would always encourage you to ask any questions from your content or maybe from somewhere else also. So, whatever you want to talk about, so we can discuss on them. So, if anybody has any questions on whatever we have discussed so far, need not be it from the AI/ML class or Python. So, even if there is anything else regarding your career, do feel free to shout out your questions so we can take them as it comes. Right, so I'm monitoring my chat, guys, as always. So do feel free to put up your questions. So I'm monitoring that. So I'll come back to your query and I'll respond to that to the best of my knowledge. Cool. So, but before then, let's start. Okay. So let's have a quick round of introduction. So as you know, my name is Arpit Jain, and I have almost 9 years of industry experience. I'm a motivational speaker as well. So I talk to people. I take their career mentorship. I do industry sessions. I talk to people regarding their career. So if you have any questions, any doubts regarding your career, regarding your job, or regarding your profile, do shout out your questions so in the chat, so you can put up your questions. I'll try to take it to the best of my knowledge, and we can talk on that front as well. Subjects as part of our playlists. So we have finalized Python, SQL, data science. Python we started a couple of months back. SQL we started a month back. Data science we have started I think a week or two back. So and then here we are taking data science from a Python perspective. So meanwhile I'm trying to introduce some of the concepts to you on data science. But the objective here is not to stick to the theoretical aspects. Let's try to build those concepts on Python as well. So that's the plan, and I'll be introducing that to you, right? But before that, as always, I'll be running you through the promotion pitch. So as you know, you have a code right in front of your screen, which is Python 10. And if you use this Python 10 code, guys, you know you'll get a free Relevel sample test paper. So what exactly a Relevel platform is, I'll just be very quick in this promotion. Please bear with me for this. So as you know, many a times candidates do miss out on the great opportunities due to multiple reasons. So it could be like they don't have a better degree or a poor networking. The resumes is not really standing out from the hundred other applicants. So it could be the reason, like, you know, you're applying for a job and there are like 100 other applicants for the same job. So your resume is not standing out. So there is either some issue in your resume or maybe something else which is beyond your control, right? And also you're applying to a number of jobs, and but still you're not getting even a single interview call. Very practical problem, but that is true, that happens. So to cater these issues, Relevel has been introduced, which is a platform, India's first test hiring platform, revealed by Unacademy, which is helping you get your dream job, right? And here you're not dependent on any of your skills or talent. Basically, you're purely dependent on your degree. You're purely dependent on your skills and talent. You're not dependent on any sort of degree or any networking. So here how it works. So you'll be asked to go through an assessment, right? So there'll be multiple rounds depending on the career or a path or a platform which you choose out of your interest. And the rounds which you'll be going through the assessment. So based on the score, what you're getting on your assessment, you'll be actually getting an opportunity where the companies will reach out to you, right? So your placements, I would say, in that percent. So where based on your score, the companies will start reaching out to you. That's how Relevel works, right? So there are certain other benefits also involved if you participate in the Relevel testing platform. So there are like at least 50 plus companies, including the top startups and even the unicorns, are hiring directly from the Relevel platform. So they have a tie-up on the Relevel. So the companies including ENY, Upgrad, Cred, Razorpay, Urban Company, and many more. So they are hiring directly from the Relevel platform. At least there are 1,000 plus open job positions across three different portfolios right now: business front end and the backend development, multiple roles available within these. This is completely online, guys. You're not supposed to be physically present anywhere. You can take this from the comfort of your home. And also the best part is this is completely free, so you're not going to pay even a single penny to attempt this test, right? The only thing is there are multiple rounds involved, so you're expected to finish this entire test in a single day's time, okay? And your score will be revealed in a day, in a week's time, okay? Also, you can take this test a number of times if you are not getting the qualifying criteria score. So, but the duration between two tests should be at least 30 days. So you can reattempt only after 30 days. So that's the requirement. Also, it's basically like there are certain other goodies involved in this. So the person who is getting the highest score in a particular category in a month will be awarded with some exciting goodies like MacBook, iPhone, and something else, right? Also, I forgot to tell you. So there is a qualifying criteria. So at least you have to score 70% of the marks here, right? So higher the better, but at least you have to score 70% of the marks. So here the test is for 1,000. So 700 is a qualifying criteria, guys. So you have to be beyond that to get your Relevel profile made, right? So with this, you're in a unique position to invite interest from the companies instead of you going for your own opportunities, right? So it's like once you have given the test, sit back and relax in your home, wait for a week's time for your result, and then the companies will start reaching out to you, right? Registering also is quite easy. Link is there in the YouTube description, right? So go through that link, and just once you have done that, the first thing they will ask you to choose the test of your choice. As I was said, there are three different portfolios right now: business, front end, and the backend development. And under each of these portfolios, multiple roles available, like you can see sales associate, customer engagement associate in business development, Angular web developer in front end, back end data engineer, and all that. So for back end development test. So depending on your role, which is your interest, so you can choose the test. Then the next thing it would be to choose the date of your test, right? So it's a beta platform, as I've said, so slots are limited. I would suggest you to book it fast. So once you've selected the date of your choice, the last thing would be to fill up your details in admit card, like full name, ID, state, year, birth year, gender, and all that. But again, the good thing is, so you have a referral code here. So you can use the code Python 10. If you use this referral code Python 10, you're gonna unlock a bonus sample test paper for you. And that will be the replica of what exactly test you will be expecting on the Relevel platform, right? So very, very advantageous. So do not forget to put up the code here. You can unlock a sample test paper for you. Cool. Once you've done that, created an account, you can see the practice or the sample test paper available under the practice tab. So you can just download the paper and get that solution. And then definitely that's going to help you a lot in your real test. So the questions will be almost similar from this. So please at least register for it once today. So there's no cost involved. So as I've already mentioned that, so there's no harm for you in this, right? So at least you can try it for once. Link is there in the YouTube description, right? So if you're not getting benefited, you can decide it later, like what exactly you want to do. But again, at least you can try it for once if you're looking for a job. Right, so as always, we know we have an official Telegram channel as well. So link is again in the YouTube description, guys. Please join this YouTube Telegram channel, right? So it's a one place stop for you for all of your queries. So you can get the details of all the upcoming schedules, classes, and all the relevant details. So you don't have to run around here and there. So you'll be getting the details at a single place. So please do join this channel. At last, guys, do not forget to like and share the video if you feel that you're getting benefited. So please, at least this is the least we can expect from you. Cool. So with this, we are into a content slide, AIML Masterclass. So before starting, we'll take up the questions. We have one question here. So Career Hunt says, We have to get intern in 7th sem of college. It's compulsory. How can we get easily intern in data science beside referral? Okay. As we have seen, there are many opportunities in web and Android domain. Right. So again, see, again, I would say, Career Hunt, none of the profiles are wrong. Okay, none of the profiles are bad in that sense. Technically, these days, definitely data science is on boom. So almost everybody wants to get into data science. So if you're getting an opportunity in data science, why not? So you can absolutely take that. Web and Android, definitely, like mobile applications, Android, iOS, even the front end web development is also a very good field, right? So to be part of. So I won't comment that this field is good or that field is good. Any field is good. But again, it's purely of your choice. So do not feel that, if I go into web development, I don't get a job, or if I go into data science, I might not get a full-time job. So do not think about a job right now, okay, at this stage of your career. I would say the most important thing right now for you is to understand your area of interest. Okay, find out your interest. So again, if even if I'm telling you, even if you feel that, suppose you're choosing data science for now, for example, and you start working in it and you got a job, and then also you did a job for a post, let's say 2 3 years. After that also you feel that, maybe you've done something wrong and you're not getting that interest, you can still change your field. It'll be a little tricky for you, but still it is possible. Okay, so it's not a very difficult thing, guys. So do not get confused that, this is just a end for me, I have to do it like right now. It's not at all. Okay, yeah, if you can able to relate to the points, well and good. I mean, you will start your career easily on the same track, right? It'll be easier for you later on, but again, still it's not an issue. Okay, so it's fine if you still choose something else, so it's totally fine. So coming back to your question, how to get this? Yeah, there are multiple websites again, like the way you apply for jobs, right? So like all the job portals, you can just filter out your internships there. So you can apply it from there. Even on LinkedIn jobs, you're getting the internship postings. So there's a website called as Internshala. I've never used that. Some of my students were telling that, so you can just try it for once. I'm not sure about that website. I've not used it. But again, Google is your best friend. So try to find out beyond the referrals. Again, at last, referrals are your best buddies here to get the internships. So most of the people generally land into internships based on their referrals. Okay, so their connections, their contacts in the industry. So that's the most easiest way. But again, if you still don't have any, do not feel disheartened. Apply from all the available job portals. Just filter out internships in that area. You should be able to find that. Cool. So with this, guys, let's start. But again, I still encourage, if anybody has any questions, do feel free to put up your question in the chat. So we'll take maybe a 30 seconds pause before starting. If anybody has any questions, do shout out your question. Cool. So in that sense, let's start. So what I'll do is I'll just do a quick recap. I saw maybe a couple of good students, new students here. So maybe I'll just give you a quick recap of what we discussed yesterday. I won't take much long here. So I'll just quickly do a recap of what we did yesterday, and then we proceed with the machine learning part expected to be learned today. So we were yesterday discussing about the artificial intelligence, right? And what I taught about artificial intelligence is something like intelligence which is not real. Like, the work which a human brain does, right? You're trying to mimic that human brain activity by some other machine. So you're making a machine do the same kind of a work which a human brain is supposed to do. So basically an intelligence which is artificial, which is not real. Okay, so which is made up. We are making that intelligence, that is artificial intelligence. Okay, so basically you are, and how you're making some external entity which is a machine, maybe a robot, right? Or maybe just take it as a machine. Even robot is a machine, right? So you're making an external machine do the job to mimic the activity of your brain, human brain, and that basically is called as artificial intelligence, right? So that's the basic definition we learned. So three aspects of it we learned yesterday. So artifacts of my artificial intelligence, basically learning, reasoning, and self-correction. So there are three different artifacts of artificial intelligence. You're making the system learn, you're making the system reason as in you question the machine is actually able to question whether the way whatever it has learned is correct or not. And then if if the machine has identified if it is correct or not, the machine is able to actually take the self correction action if it is wrong, right? So these are the three major artifacts of my artificial intelligence, and likewise we have told applications of it. The certain applications which include like speech recognition, image recognition, expert systems, machine vision, and all that. So these are the very common use cases where artificial intelligence is used. But let's take each of these like learning, reasoning, and self-correction one by one. Okay, so very important three cognitive skills of my artificial intelligence. So learning process. So basically it's nothing but you are making some kind of a rule, or you are making some kind of a algorithm. So rules is nothing but algorithms, right? So and based on these algorithms, aka rules, you are making the system learn the patterns or information available in your given data. Okay, so this is a learning process. So what is your data? For example, suppose if you want the system to do image recognition task, right? The image, now the system, you want the system to identify whether the given image is of a dog or a cat, for example, right? So basically in this case, what is your data? Your data is a dog image or a cat image, right? So respectively, data is basically nothing but the relevant information which you are giving to the machine to make the machine learn about that information, the hidden patterns or information based on which it should be able to do the job which is expected to do, right? So that's basically nothing but my learning process. So you're making the machine learn the patterns or information. The second very important cognitive skill is reasoning process, and trust me, this is bit I would say a boon or a bane in both the sides. So if the machine started reasoning the things, right, that's it. Then the things become a little tricky, more of a robotic thing, right? So now in this case, basically, the machine is able to identify whether the learning process which was done to identify the patterns or information was correct or not. Correct, by that correct mean basically, are you getting the desired outcome from that learning or not? So that's the way it is able to identify whether it is correct or not. Okay, so basically now the machine is able to identify the kind of a thing that whether that process was right or do I need to do something else, right? So that's the reasoning process. The third is, now if the machine is able to identify the process was not so correct, so it needs some kind of a tuning, it needs some kind of correction. So now the machine is able to take the self-correction process, exactly mimicking the human brain, right? So your human brain does not need any kind of pre-training. So you are able to take up the actions, right? So you are able to take the self-corrective actions for any given stimulus, right? So that's basically a third cognitive skills of my AI programming, which is nothing but self-correction process. Cool. So that's the three cognitive skills for you guys for artificial intelligence. Certain advantages, disadvantages, we already saw about that. The major disadvantage of AI, I would say, is the third part. You can see here, it is heavily dependent on data and nothing beyond that. Okay. So the major disadvantage, I would say, of AI is it is purely dependent on data, right? So whatever data you give, the output is directly related to that data, right? So if your information, the data which you're passing to the artificial intelligence machine to learn the pattern is somehow, I would say, incorrect, or somehow I wouldn't say incorrect, I would say that not the ideal data, right? So to get the expected output, in that sense your output cannot be good, right? So very clear disadvantages, very major disadvantage. But again, the advantages include, so definitely it's very much reliable, it's available. If your data are good, if your data is good, you can expect a consistent result, like even after millions of years, right? It's a machine, it's going to do the job same way. If the patterns are not changing, it is expected to give you the same result even after millions of years, right? But again, as I said, data is pretty dynamic, so it is heavily dependent on data, and if it is getting changed, so you cannot expect the AI things to perform good, to give you the expected desired outcome, right? And as always, it's completely infra dependent also. So here the things are, if to do the higher computation, you need some extra advanced machines, right? And hence the infra would become expensive in that sense to make up those AI, I would say, machines. So that become expensive. Cool. So there are now technically four types of artificial intelligence. Considering the cognitive skills we learned, so there are four types of artificial intelligence: reactive machines, limited memory, theory of mind, and self-awareness. Okay, so four types of artificial intelligence we have right now. The first two part is dependent on your data. Okay, the next two part, theory of mind and self-awareness, is more towards my robotic engineering. I'll come to that. So let's take it one by one. Reactive machines. Okay, so reactive machines is nothing but, it's more of I would say, a reaction to an action. Okay, so here the machines are not getting pre-trained on the existing data, so there is no historical data, there is no pattern learning in place. Rather, the machine is able to take the informed decision on the real time. So whatever action you take, the other system takes, based on that action, your AI machine is able to do the reactive action on top of that. So that's an instantaneous response to an action. Okay, so that's what a reactive machine is. So it is very much reliable, and but it is designed to do only a certain limited kind of a job. It cannot do anything else apart from that. For example, in 1990s there was a machine developed by IBM, Deep Blue, we call as Deep Blue. It was able to beat one of the best chess player at that time, and the moves of that machine Deep Blue was only on runtime, and that moves were not trained based on the past moves. Okay, so one of the very good examples, the machine was only taking the action based on the moves of the chess player, and it was not based on the past moves. Okay, so it was just informed real-time decision making. That is a reactive machine. So there is no pre-training involved here. But again, as I've said, it is very specific. It has very specific uses. So I mean, for example, Deep Blue can only play chess, nothing else, right? So I mean, yes. So in that sense, if you want the machine to do a very specific use, very specific job, it is good. But in that sense, it cannot do anything else apart from that. Right. On the other hand, limited memory is bit of a complex situation where the machines are trained on the previous historical data. Right. So this is a bit complex machine compared to the previous one, which is a reactive machine. So in the limited memory, so the machines are being trained on some of the previous data for more complex predictions. Right. So now the machines are being trained for the available patterns, information hidden in your data, and based on that patterns, which is part of your data stored in the memory, the machine is able to perform the job which is expected from it, right? So there are certain steps involved for this limited memory, training the model, training based on the data, building up the machine learning model, predicting based on the machine learning model, and then that definitely there is a reinforcement learning involved where the feedbacks for those predictions are given, feedbacks are stored, and based on that feedback there will be maybe further training involved and all that, so repetition of your steps, right? So this is where my limited memory comes into picture, so where the data is being trained on your existing patterns, right? So this is where a bit of a complex situation based on the previous data, machines are learning the patterns, right? So it's not a reactive machine. Cool. Theory of mind and self-awareness. So theory of mind is nothing but my reasoning concept. I was talking about the reasoning cognitive skills, right? So that's where it should be able to grasp the concept of mind. So basically, the machine should be able to grasp what is right or wrong, right? So it is basically is able to understand the question, the process, right? So what is right, what is wrong. So it is, but again, it's only conceptual as of now. So research is going on. There are a few advanced machines like robots being developed. You might have heard the news here and there. But again, it's conceptual. Self-awareness is the third cognitive skills. Is like more of a self-correction, right? So now based on the theory of mind, which is basically understanding the right and the wrongs of the machine. The machine is now able to take the action, which is actually, I would say, dangerous only, right? So, but again, it could be good, it could be bad. So I'm more of a movie-oriented person. So So based on that, I would say in some cases we should not be completely relying on robots. But again, it's more of a self-awareness where the machines are now being trained, and machines are now able to question, and then now machines are able to take the action, also mimicking your human brain. Okay, so this is more of a conceptual part. It's still research is going on. So these two parts are more towards the advanced general intelligence, right? So now coming to that, so AI has basically considering these four applications broadly classified into two classes: narrow AI, which is nothing but a weak artificial intelligence, or a strong artificial intelligence, which is called as artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Okay, so now I'll just brief up about this. So AI applications is nothing but in the narrow AI, we are narrowing the we are narrowing the objective of my machines here, right? So we are now asking machine to only do a single kind of a job, only do a limited job, right? So here maybe I want the machine to do only a face recognition job. It cannot do a speech recognition. And for example, I want the machine to do only say a loan prediction kind of a thing, right? So that's again a machine doing only a loan prediction job. It cannot say anything else about the weather, for example, right? So now I'm making the machine dumb. I'm making the machine do only a certain set of activity or a job or a task which is expected to do, only a focused single task, and it is heavily dependent on that given data. If I want the machine to do a say face recognition job, I have to provide the face recognition data. I cannot provide a loan ka data there, right? So it is directly dependent on the given data to do that focused task which is expected to do. Okay, so I'm making the machine kind of dumb, and I'm making the machine understand do the only the single job. And I won't say dumb. I'm making the machine focused towards a single job, right? Now on the other hand, and this is called as a weak AI. On the other hand, which is strong AI, I am asking machine to do everything like a human brain does. You can like a human brain, I can do a face recognition job. I can identify a person. I can identify a voice. I can do a lot of things, right? So I can do n number of things. I'm not focused on a single job. I'm not a machine, right? So now to mimic the human brain, I'm making the application, the usage, the activity, the task of my machines generic, right? I'm making it open. So now the machine, the robots are expected to mimic the human brain activity. The research is going on in this field. So this is very a strong area of research. So it is basically an artificial general intelligence, which is strong AI. But now you would have realized that the machine learning and deep learning are following under which category? Narrow AI, right? So we are focusing on a certain set of activities, certain set of tasks, a certain set of business use cases which we want to do from the machines, right? And we are focusing on those set of job only. So that's where we are following under the category of narrow AI. Any questions here so far, guys? Any questions? Hello, Sandeep. Thank you for joining in. Are you guys able to follow what I'm trying to say, or does it really doesn't really make sense? Uh, I hope people are there with me. Cool. So I'll take it as yes. So I believe people are following what I'm trying to convey here. Cool. So with this, let's try to move on to our the concentrated part, which is our narrow AI, right? So because now we are more focused towards machine learning, deep learning, and all that stuff. So the area where we are focused, it's more towards narrow AI. Yes, what about virtual reality, augmented reality? Very good question, yeah. So here again, it's more towards my narrow AI. So I would say yes, it's more of a machine learning job only where we are doing more of an cognitive intelligence kind of a work. So it's more towards deep learning side of your artificial intelligence and all that. But again, part of my narrow AI, if I have to classify in terms of narrow or a strong AI. Okay, but a good question, Sandeep. Right. So with this, let's be a bit more focused towards our narrow AI part. Okay. So narrow AI may, as I was talking about, there are certain other certain examples, certain use cases. It could be many use cases. Like for example, a Google search, right? For example, so you're doing something on Google, and in the backend, it is getting mapped with something else and showing up the results. Again, a narrow AI, face recognition, your personal assistant, Siri, Alexa, self-driving cars, any predictive models, be it numbers, be it class, or whatever it is, right? These all are following under narrow AI. Okay. So here in narrow AI, machine learning and deep learning are the basis. Okay. So basically, here narrow AI, we are trying to make the machines learn, right? Some pattern based on the data. And by learning, I mean some of the rules, and that's rules are nothing but part of my machine learning and deep learning, right? So now let's try to be focused towards machine learning and deep learning. So now we have fairly understood what is artificial intelligence. Now the time is to move towards machine learning and deep learning. So just a quick definition for you. So basically, artificial intelligence is set of algorithms and intelligence to try to mimic human intelligence. You have understood this. So basically, artificial intelligence is a set of algorithms which is trying to mimic the intelligence of a human brain, right? And machine learning is one of them. So the set of algorithms, right? So the one such set of algorithms is nothing but machine learning, right? Machine learning is one of those algorithms, a set of algorithms basically, which is trying to mimic some of the activities of human brain. And out of those set of algorithms, machine learning, deep learning is one of the techniques, right? So machine learning is again a bunch of, or a collection of algorithms, set of algorithms, where deep learning is one of such techniques following under machine learning. So if you talk about the umbrella, so this is how they are related. Artificial intelligence is a bigger umbrella. So you have strong AI, you have weak AI, you have theory of reasoning, you have even the self-correcting machines and all that, right? But in artificial intelligence, we are focused towards what? Narrow AI, right? So one of the parts of my artificial intelligence. So that's where machine learning is a subset of my artificial intelligence, right? And machine learning mein kya hai? Machine learning is a set of algorithms, set of some rules to make the machine learn the patterns, right? And deep learning is one of those techniques by which the machine can learn the pattern. So basically, under the machine learning also, deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Cool, guys? Any questions in this point? I hope these points are pretty much clear with everybody who is part of our discussion today. Cool. So with this, let's move towards the another interesting topic, which is I would say the hot topic of this time, which is machine learning, right? So now, what exactly machine learning is? What are those algorithms I was talking about, right? And how these algorithms? How can I build those algorithms? How can I make the machine learn based on these machine learning algorithms, right? So let's talk about them. Okay. So machine learning is nothing but, as I was said, it's just a section of artificial intelligence, right? It's one of the I would say arms of artificial intelligence. It's not complete artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence में strong AI भी आता है, where robotics comes into picture, right? But here I'm purely talking towards my artificial intelligence part, right? So which is towards your narrow AI. So here machine learning is including a section of my AI, and deep learning is internally a part of machine learning, right? So we'll go towards that area as well, right? Here in machine learning, objective is to learn the data and give the meaningful business outcome. So from the available given information, and information is nothing but your data, right? The machine is trying to learn the patterns. Machine is trying to learn the hidden information available inside your data to give you the meaningful business outcomes. And here meaningful business outcomes could be anything. For example, suppose if you want to find out the person should be given a loan or not. For example, very simple basic use case, right? Again, a very interesting use case, right? But again, this is a business outcome. I want to identify whether the person who has applied for the loan should be given a loan or not, right? So to solve to solve this problem, the machine has to be given the relevant data. I cannot give the data, I cannot give machine the data of, say, IPL 2021, right? So by the IPL data, I cannot expect a machine to solve the job of a loan prediction, right? So the data has to be relevant and the machine has to learn from the relevant data, right? So first of all, relevant data is very, very important. And from that, the learning process, the learning process is where the rules are defined. So there are multiple ways, multiple algorithms, multiple rules with which the machines can learn these patterns, right? So we'll be talking about them as well. So as I said, it's more towards pattern recognition, and the pattern should be trained to show the output in a desirable manner. So technically here machine learning are basically of two types. Okay, so the machine learning can be trained in two different ways. Okay, a supervised training and unsupervised training. Okay, so there are again broadly two different ways in which a machine learning can be trained, or where a machine can be trained basically. Okay, a supervised training and an unsupervised training. अच्छा, अब supervised का मतलब क्या है? If I say that you are being supervised by someone, right? So basically आपके ऊपर कोई खड़ा है, you are being supervised, you are being helped by someone, right? Supervised का basic lingual meaning तो यही होता है, you are being supervised by someone, right? So he is my supervisor, right? So he is the person who can guide me on the work, right? So basically supervised training का भी मतलब यही है, it is getting guided, it is getting helped by what or by something. I'll talk about that, but it's getting helped, right? So it's there is something which is helping the learning process, right? So that is supervised learning. Unsupervised learning, there is no help, right? So unsupervised, there is no supervision on top of this learning. So that's what unsupervised learning is. अब supervised और unsupervised को technically हम define कैसे कर सकते हैं? Let's take them one by one. Okay. So as I said, supervised is more towards a process which is being supervised. Supervised learning means supervised by something. It is being helped by something. So let's take what is that help, right? So here this method is basically towards taking the training data and its associated output, that is the labels, okay, or responses. So basically here, if I talk about the data, so the data has the exact output also. For example, suppose when I say the loan prediction, right? I'll take the same example, loan prediction. So now when I'm asking the machine to learn the loan prediction pattern, so I'm giving them the data, right? So in the data, suppose I have it's a spreadsheet. Take it as an Excel sheet, right? So in that Excel sheet, I have say 5 columns. 5 columns. I have name, I have age, so name of the applicant, I have age, I have gender, I have maybe salary, I have maybe say marital status, maybe some more XYZ things, and at the end I have the column of loan given or not, say loan sanctioned, right? So here I have say yes or no, for example, right? So from the historical data, so from suppose if it's a bank which is expected to give the loan, so that bank has been giving out the loans for past say 5-10 years, for example. So whatever data the bank has for all the other applicants in the past, where the same set of information was available, like your name, age, gender, salary, marital status, and whatnot, and also at the end you have a target column, you have the desired outcome, right? And desired outcome is whether the loan was sanctioned or not, yes or no. So along with the pattern data, along with the input data, you have also the output given to the training model, to the training pattern, training process, right? So that is where your response was also included as part of your learning process, right? So machine was told that if the person's age was say 25 and if it is not married, भैया इसको लोन नहीं दिया गया था. Okay, and what if the person age is 35 and who is married, who is happily earning say maybe a lakh a month, इसको लोन दिया गया था. So like this, now the machine is able to relate कि yes or no cases के differences क्या हैं, right? Now the machine is actually helped by the type of results, the type of the data I had in the past, right? Good, bad, जो भी patterns था, दिया गया, नहीं दिया गया, yes, no. उसके साथ along with the data, it was also passed with the response, the outcome of the data, right? So that is something called as supervised learning. Here, the main objective of supervised learning is to find out the association between your input data samples, जिसका मतलब है आपका name, age, gender, salary, and marital status, and also the corresponding outputs, which is nothing but loan given or not, right? So based on the input and the output, you're providing both the input and the output to the learning process, and that's where your supervised learning comes into picture, right? So here, broadly again, supervised tasks can be divided into two categories. The first is a classification type of a problem where the end result, the objective is more of a class, like a yes or no, for example, the loan prediction case, right? Or 0 or 1, or maybe true, false, right? So more of a classification kind of a problem. So you have a category, you have a class. Class means like yes or no kind of a thing, right? So it's more of that kind of prediction, like loan was given, credit card should be defaulted or not. So all those kind of a things, right? So that's more of a classification kind of a problems. Again, here, along with the input data, I'm passing the output, which is my response, which is yes or no kind of a thing, right? And then the second broad class is my regression. So regression means I am, instead of predicting a class which is yes or no, I'm predicting a number here. For example, you're trying to predict the price of a house, right? So very common problem statement in data science. For example, now I want to predict the house of a price. So in this case, again, I've taken the data. In the data, it shows that maybe the square foot area of the plot, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, swimming pool, yes or no, what is the ceiling height, locality, pin code. So this is my input data, and the output is the price of the house. Maybe say maybe $50,000, or say $100,000, or something like that. So all of these different information here. The output is a number, right? Is a continuous number, maybe 1 lakh, 10 lakh, 10,000, whatever it is. It's a number. It's not a class, right? So this is again a second broad category of my supervised learning. So two broad classes, two broad categories. The first is my classification type of a problem where the output is a class, 0 or 1, true, false. The second is a regression type of a problem where the output is more of a number. Cool. They both are falling under a supervised learning type of a learning pattern. Any questions in this, guys? Any questions? So anybody has any questions on whatever we discussed so far? Is it making sense? Just a quick yes or no in the chat, guys. Chalo, theek hai. Anyway. So this is all about my supervised learning, right? So supervised learning, आपको मैंने बताया, it's more of a learning where you are being supervised by something. And supervision क्या है? Along with the input, I'm also passing the output. That is your supervision here. Okay. Now the second is okay. So supervised may be okay. Now let's try to find out some of the good examples in my supervised learning. Okay. Now some of the very interesting use cases I've listed on some of the interesting use cases in supervised learning. For example, the first is image or an object recognition, right? So here I'm trying to make a machine identify a particular image or an object based on the given data, which could be it could be anything, right? So whatever we are given in terms of my information data, based on that my system is able to identify what image it is or what object it is. So for example, a dog or a cat classification. So I'm giving the input data, which is an image, and my machine is able to identify whether that image belongs to a dog or a cat. Or a defects identification in products. So if in your industry, in your in your industrial arena, if any of the things is being made, for example, anything, right? So there is any defects in any product, so even that defect can be identified, right? So based on the hidden patterns, which is not visible to a naked human eye, the machine can able to identify that, right? Face recognition, it is able to identify which person is this, as I talked about earlier also yesterday, based on the CCTV feeds. Now the cyber crime team are able to identify they were able to track the person, right? So because they are able to map the CCTV feed, which is nothing but the video, so they are doing a video analytics there. So they are from the video feed, they are doing the face recognition. They are identifying the person and then mapping it to the available human database, right? So that's the face recognition for you. Driver sleep tracker, very interesting use case. So many a times we felt that this is not applicable in India as of date, but again in mostly in US and UK, and even I saw in some of the use cases in Germany also, where there are the national tour buses, right? So they are those in those buses. They are keeping a camera on top of the driver's head, and they are monitoring the driver's sleep pattern also while driving the bus or the truck, right? So very interesting use case, and it's a live feed. So they are and then based on that live feed, an alert is being sent to both the there's an alarm which is being which is ringing inside the bus to make the driver awake, and also at the same time an SOS call is going to the nearest police station or whatsoever. So I read it somewhere. So very interesting use case. So driver sleep tracker using the video AI, right? So which is again a supervised learning. So by training the model, the model was trained using the different hands action. It's like more of a video feed based on that when the and to identify when the driver was sleeping or not, right? Which is again more of a image or a object recognition kind of a thing. Very interesting use case. The second is your predictive analytics. So all sort of predictive analytics, right? So whether it is a price of a product or like patient inflow in hospitals, like predicting an air accident, predicting the demand of your supply, right? So anything, it is helping your business making the right decisions at the right time. For example, suppose in the COVID situation, right? So we never expected so much of patient inflow because anyway, it's a one odd situation. The data was not sufficient to predict this much of patient inflow in future, right? Because it has never happened such incidents in past 100 years. Last happened something in 1920 with very limited data, right? So that is the reason why the predictive analytics, our hospitals were not able to cater such things. But again, there will be some political issues. I won't come to that. But again, definitely there was some issue with the data side also because patient inflow was not expected that much. So a lot of things. So if you have the right data, right? So you have the power in your hand, right? That basically the predictive capability of your machines are actually helping the business take the strategic decisions right on time, right? And this will actually help their business grow further, right? So all sort of predictive analytics where you have some sort of input mapped with your output is given to machine to learn the patterns. That's where your supervised learning comes into picture. All sort of predictive analytics is more of your supervised learning technique. Customer sentiment analysis, right? So now again, you are putting some of the reviews on Amazon, you're putting some reviews on say some of the web series, right? So it's more of a sentiment. So you are, for example, you're writing, oh gosh, this is good. So oh gosh is a negative sentiment, but good is a good positive sentiment, right? So it's a mix of a word. So I mean, by human, if I'm reading it, I'm able to identify, okay, this is a ironic kind of a statement, right? Or maybe this is good. This is a very simple sentence. This is good means this is a positive sentiment, right? But again, oh God, this is so good. So, oh God, I mean, it's more of a negative sentiment first and then so good coming as a positive. So now the machine is not able to identify whether it is positive or good. You might have seen there was an issue with some, I won't name the company. So, but again, a very popular airline. There was an issue going on about an year back. So I was reading the news. Somebody posted up that my baggage got lost. Alas, and sarcastically, the person posted that my baggage got lost. I'm so happy with, so surprised, so happy with the customer service, something like that, right? So, but again, there was an automated reply, and the airline reply was like, "Thank you so much for your positive feedback." Right? That means that the sentiment analysis which was happening in the background by the bot was not good, and it was not able to capture that person is saying sarcastically, right? So that's a very good thing. Again, a supervised learning model. The model was not trained, right? Model was not given the right data. So that was a very highlighted case. So please read out in the news. You might find out the name of the airline. So I won't name that. But again, it was a very highlighted issue, right? So it's more of a sentiment analysis based on the feedbacks you are giving, based on the tweets you are putting up on Twitter. People are able to identify what sentiment it is, right? And the machine is able to identify that, and in fact based on that it is able to take some respective corrective actions also, right? So like chatbots, they're giving you the replies based on the intent based replies, right? Very interesting chatbots coming up. So more of again a supervised learning. Product reviews also similar thing. So you are giving up the product reviews whether it is fake or not, right? So sometimes people are picking up the fake reviews on Amazon, so maybe a competitor or something else, right? So also identifying the fake reviews. So that's a very strong use cases these days, right? So more towards your supervised learning part. Hello Rohit, thank you so much for joining in. Spam detection, again, a very interesting use case. So you are able to identify maybe an email, right? For example, so your now most of the days yeah, I would say supplier, I mean whatever domain you are part of on your emails, right? So they are able to classify the spam emails or not, the junk emails, right? Likewise, the pattern or the anomalies detection is more of spam related information, and which is a supervised learning. So based on the content, based on the message, the machine is able to classify whether it is a spam or not. So very interesting and very handy kind of a thing. So again, part of a supervised learning. So you are here also, while at the time of a training the machine was told with the input patterns what is spam and what is non-spam, right? So again, a supervised learning technique, guys. Cool. So again, but there are certain challenges involved. So so in the supervised learning there are certain challenges. Although supervised learning can offer business advantages such as deep data insights, there's some other challenges also involved. Like for example, models can require certain levels of expertise to structure accurately. For example, as I was talking about, so to get the desired model outcome, to get the desired model performance, right, you have to get the certain levels of expertise to make the machine learn, right? So basically your hyper tuning, your tuning of your model, right? So to make the machine learn more intensively, so that becomes a little trickier at times. So the model performance, the desired outcome of your sometimes is good, sometimes is bad, right? So that's where it becomes a little trickier. So you have to require a certain level of expertise to structure your models accurately, right? So to definitely identify, to make the machines learn, you have to make them actually understand the patterns accurately, and that might require certain level of expertise. So definitely one of the challenges in supervised learning. Definitely in some of the cases when the model is dependent on your data too much and the data is quite heavy, it can be time intensive, right? So training a model itself can be very much time consuming, right? So I've seen the models, the codes running even for days just to train the model, and it is purely dependent on your infra also, your infra, your the kind of amount of data you're given to your model. So a lot of other dependencies, but again, this can be very much time consuming, right? And the data sets can have higher likelihood of human error, right? For example, ultimately, these all are data, right? So coming from some or the other place. And in fact, these data in the real-time business, they are not very much clean, right? When I say clean, it's not in a very, I would say, very fashioned way where you can just take it and give it to the model. It's not like that, right? You have to work on this data before feeding up into the model. So a lot of pre-processing steps of your data cleaning steps comes into picture, right? So that's where there is a likelihood of a human error, right? So that's where we have a higher likelihood of a human error. So that could be one of the potential challenges of supervised learning. Unlike unsupervised learning, model supervised learning cannot cluster or classify data on its own. So I'll take this point in the next slide. So now let's come to unsupervised learning. So I believe supervised learning is pretty much clear to all of you guys, right? So supervised learning is more of a learning technique where the machine is machine is fed with both the inputs as well as my outputs. And now based on this, I'm expecting machine to learn the pattern to find out the hidden relation between my input and the outputs, right? And based on that, the machine is able to learn the patterns and do the business job expected out of it. Cool. Guys, any questions? Please put up your question in the chat. Let's take it one by one. Cool. So meanwhile, I'll finish up this topic, unsupervised learning. So here, as the name suggests, it's an opposite to a supervised ML technique where the machine learning is not actually being supervised by any output, right? I'm just giving the inputs here. I'm just giving the inputs, just the input data, and I'm trying to identify to the business objective. So the outputs are not mapped here. Okay. So basically now in this case, what happens is the main objective of unsupervised learning algorithm is to find the interesting patterns from the available input with no target variable, right? So there is no target variable. I'm just trying to identify some interesting patterns. So how it does now, there are broadly again two categories of tasks available in unsupervised learning. First is clustering and the second is association. So clustering mein kya hai? Let's talk about clustering. So clustering is nothing but a more of a customer segmentation kind of a thing. So now suppose that I'm running a marketing campaign. Okay, I'm running a marketing campaign. I want to identify based on that campaign the group of people who can be targeted to sell a credit card, for example, right? So a group of a person who can be targeted to sell a credit card. So in this case, what all data I have. So in this case, I do not know the target variable. Okay, I'm just running a campaign. I do not know the people. I do not know whether they hold a credit card or not. Right. So I don't know those details. I just know some of the demographics of these people. So I've just run a survey. I've asked them to fill up a form, which is the informations like name, age, gender, marital status, and all that. Okay, something like that. So just a basic demographics, right? And now based on this, or maybe some higher patterns of so salary, income, and also some other information, right? So just based on this, I'm trying to group certain. I'm trying to make groups of different people. So maybe based on the algorithms, it is now able to say that. So out of say 100 people filled up my form, I could see that there are say 50 group of people, 50 people in a out of 100 are of having the similar traits. Okay, so I'm combining based on the similar traits, right? So similar patterns. That's one group. Another group which is like say 25 another people which is of different kind of different type of traits. Another third group is again another set of 25 people which is a different type of people. Right? So again a different set of patterns visible in their demographics, right? So now out of these three, I may be targeting one. Right, so depending on the patterns on which it is being classified, so maybe a salary pattern or say age category, right? So whatever based on whatever data the machine learning model is able to classify them or cluster them into smaller groups, right? So I would be able to target a particular set of people or a group of people for my business outcome, right? Make sense? So that's more of a clustering technique. So here two broad algorithms available, KNN and K-means. KN is like K nearest neighbors. K is like K-means is again another algorithm available in clustering. So I'll go deep in these algorithms in some other class. But again, I'll just try to explain that's how clustering works. So that's more of a segmentation. I'm making the based on the patterns available in my data, I'm trying to make the smaller groups of my entire population, right? To have a targeted outcome. Okay, Rohit asks what we learn for AI and machine learning. So what we learn here is, see, AI is again, as I've said, is a broader field. So Here in AI, machine learning is one of the categories, one of the classes of my AI, right? So one of the arm of my AI. So in machine learning, basically, we try to learn the different algorithms. So there are n number of algorithms. So I was talking about in the supervised, we have classification and the regression type of a problem, right? So I have in classification, I have say 10 odd algorithms. In regression, again, I have 10 odd algorithms. Clustering, so like with association, we have maybe 4 or 5 more algorithms, right? So we read in machine learning those algorithms, the way that the rules, the logics, how these algorithms are working, and how they are able to make the machine learn the patterns. So that is something which is important. And then how practically these algorithms can be implemented on a code like Python. How can we implement those algorithms, right? So to actually make those machines on our own, right? So that's what we learn in AI or machine learning. Did that answer your question, Rohit? Simran has one question, sir. If there is no output label, then how will we be able to evaluate prediction is right or not? Very good question. Very, very good question. So in clustering, so in unsupervised learning, I would say technically there is no more of a prediction evaluation kind of a technique, right? So like in supervised learning, we can compare with the actuals and the predicted, right? So there's a comparison available, like the actuals में क्या था, predicted में क्या है, कितना difference है error का, classes है तो based on the probability of my errors, अगर numbers है तो like residuals का, I mean I'll go deep in that, but again errors हम निकाल सकते हैं predicted और actuals में, right? But in unsupervised there is no actuals available. It's more of a predicted values only, right? So there is no comparison. So technically unsupervised learning का कोई evaluation metric नहीं होता है. It's more of how you judge it, right? It's more of the business related outputs. For example, suppose मैंने आपको बताया कि I have targeted these 50 people, right? For example, based on the patterns I have understood, right? And now out of 50, I've started targeting them to make the to call them up for credit cards, and ultimately the output was 0 credit card. I was not able to sell anyone. So now in this case, I would say, okay, this clustering is not good. So it's more of how at the end your business is able to take out the output from. So that's how you actually judge things in unsupervised learning. But again, we can make some certain rules internally. It's more of an association rules where we can identify what is the, I mean, how far. So we can, there are certain technical concepts involved. So how we can, evaluate your model. So we can find out a boundary region. So that's more of an association. And then based on that boundary, how far my, this point is there, right? So we can try to do something like that. So technically it's still kind of possible, but again practically अगर मैं बोलूँ business objective के हिसाब से, तो that's how we judge more of the things in unsupervised learning. Okay, but a very good question, Simran. Very, very good question. Cool. So clustering is one type of unsupervised, guys. Association is again another type of unsupervised learning. So where we have something called as market basket analytics or a Netflix recommendation. For example, आपने देखा होगा, like suppose if you're watching some say web series or a movie on Netflix, right? You're seeing a recommendation tab like more which you like, so more movies like you, something like that. So recommendation for you. So how exactly Netflix is able to identify that what all movies you might like, right? How Netflix is getting to know that? It's purely dependent on your previous patterns, right? So like not exactly your previous pattern. So it's more of other things also. It's making to associate with other people. So like for example, I have watched say like something else like Suryavanshi on although Netflix पे अभी तक आया नहीं है. So maybe something else. So suppose I have watched Game of Thrones, right, on Hotstar. So now I know that okay, now I have watched Game of Thrones. So now maybe there be some other set of people who might have watched Game of Thrones and they've also seen maybe say Chernobyl, right, for example, or maybe something else, right? So now what model is trying to identify is अगर मैंने Game of Thrones देखा है तो और किसने किसने Game of Thrones देखा है, और अगर किसी और ने भी Game of Thrones देखा है तो Game of Thrones के साथ दूसरा और क्या देखा है, right? It's trying to associate with multiple people, your profile with multiple people, and based on that it is able to recommend you, right? So that's how association works. And market basket में क्या होता है? Market basket में for example very interesting use case, guys, जो बहुत ही profoundly supermarkets में होता है. आपने देखा होगा like whenever you're stepping into a supermarket, right? So you might have seen that there is section of, say suppose milk, where the milk is there, right? You might have seen कि milk के साथ साथ nearby में bread butter भी रखे होते हैं, right? So that's more of a market basket. So you are putting up the right combination का things nearby. आप समझ रहे हो? राइट थिंग्स जो हैं उसके साथ आपके साथ रखे हुए हैं. आपको वेजीज के साथ कभी वोडका नहीं दिखाई देगा. वेजीज के सेक्शन में कभी आपको वोडका नहीं दिखाई देगा या रम नहीं दिखाई देगा. सिमिलरली आपको कभी भी, मतलब इट डिपेंड्स, लाइक सो आपका जो जो एसोसिएशन है ना, जो जो डिफरेंट चीजें साथ में जाती हैं, इट आर दे आर जनरली केप्ट टुगेदर और नियर बाय इन अ सिमिलर आयल इन अ मार्केट, in a supermarket, right? So that is something called as market basket analytics. Very very interesting use case, guys. And इसके पीछे बहुत analytics है. वो आपको जो supermarket में दिख रहा होता है वो सिर्फ randomly नहीं रखा हुआ होता है, right? उसके पीछे बहुत analytics की हुई है. So that is something called as market basket analytics. Very interesting use case, guys. You can also read online. Maybe I'll definitely go deep in one of the other classes. But this is how my unsupervised learning comes, right? So you're trying to make some association between multiple things, right? You're trying to identify कि suppose अगर मैं एक one customer हूँ, मैंने अगर आज सब्जियां खरीदी हैं, तो क्या मैंने कुछ और भी खरीदा है उसके साथ? क्या खरीदा है? Similarly, if somebody else is coming up and buying some veggies, what all he's buying along with the veggies? Maybe some spices, right? Or maybe something else, right? Maybe a pan to cook your vessels, maybe some vessels to cook up your veggies. So similar things जो दूसरे लोगों ने भी किए हुए हैं सेम चीजों के साथ, उसको स्टडी करके we are trying to make some association rules, and based on that association rules I'm trying to put up the right things in the right aisle. Okay, so that is market basket analysis. Similarly आपका recommendations, movie recommendations हो गया, कुछ भी जो आप ऑनलाइन देखते हो, इवन शॉपिंग करते हो आप अमेजोन पे देखते हो, तो अमेजोन पे recommendations आते हैं, राइट? सो more which you can like, so similar things which you can like, so that's pure recommendations. That's basically your again association होते हैं उसके पीछे में. Clear? Any questions, guys? So that's your unsupervised learning. So I hope मैंने आपको इसमें clear कर दिया. So we have two categories of things here, clustering and association. So clustering is more of, again, you're making a group or a cluster of people, or cluster of smaller groups of your entire data. Association में you're making some association rules and then identifying the right thing for you. Cool? Any questions, guys? Any questions on whatever we have discussed so far? Simran, Rohit, I hope my points are clear. Sandeep, sorry guys, I'm taking out your name, but I hope I'm making my point clear. I hope you guys are able to understand. So I hope किसी को भी supervised and unsupervised में कोई issue नहीं है. Guys, जब भी interviews में जाते हो ना, so whenever you go for data science का interview, इसमें बहुत ही commonly asked question है, what is the difference between a supervised and an unsupervised learning? So I hope these basic questions में किसी को कोई issue नहीं है. Definitely it's not the end. So now I was talking about clustering, I was talking about association, I was talking about regression, classification. So इसके under inherent multiple algorithms हैं. I agree to that. So I mean, you cannot learn everything on day one, right? So we have to be patient. So I'll go deep in each of these individual algorithms one by one, and in fact I won't only go deep in these algorithms. In fact, I'll try to go side by side with the Python development also. Okay, so I'll show it to you how exactly we're going to develop these models on we can develop these machines on Python. We can do that. Okay, very easy. Cool. But again, at least conceptually people are fine, right? Thank you so much, Simran, for answering that. But again, there's no doubts in machine learning, in AI, in supervised, unsupervised, clustering, in classification, regression, numbers. इन सब चीज़ों में किसी को कोई इशू नहीं है. Guys, I'm still gonna give you maybe 1 more minute. If you have any questions, do please put up your question in the chat. We can take it. हाय अभिषेक, आपने क्या टाइप किया? आई डोंट नो. EVRG, I'm unsure of this. Again, Simran, good question. I'll go when I talk about KNN, so I'll go deep in that. But for now, please take KNN as unsupervised learning technique. But again, I'll go deep in that once I do that. So technically, what it does, it identifies the similar nearest neighbors, and based on that, it is classified. But I'll go deep in that once I take it. Okay. Just Abhishek, just a general question I have. Okay, sure. Rupesh, what's the difference between clustering and association? Good question. Okay. So clustering basically क्या है? We are trying to break your data into smaller groups. Okay. So we're trying to break the data. For example, I have say, as I was talking about, I'm running a campaign and I have say those that campaign details where I'm trying to identify the demographics of certain people out there in the market, and out of all the people, say 100 have filled up those form, right? So now out of those 100 filled up details I have, I'm trying to group a certain set of people. So based on the details, maybe their age group or maybe salary or what not, right? So based on all the demographics, I'm trying to break them into smaller groups. So there is a, so out of 100, I have what I've made say three groups. So three groups may, one group is of having say 50 people, another 30, and another 20, right? So now there are out of 100, so now there are three groups. There are three clusters more of sort, right? So based on the hidden some similar information, some similar patterns in those data points, right? So that is clustering. You're breaking down your data into smaller groups, okay, based on certain patterns available. But association is more like, so for example, as I said about the recommendations, right? So recommendation में suppose मैंने आज जैसे आपको मैंने example बताया था कि बोला suppose मैंने आज Game of Thrones देखा on Hotstar, right? So now maybe what else I can watch, right? So now you have seen, right? So Hotstar is giving you a recommendation you might like something like this, right? So how exactly is able to the Hotstar is able to identify that? So now if you've watched Game of Thrones, maybe somebody else also who is having the subscription of Hotstar would have watched Hotstar, right? And now if the other guy has watched Hotstar, has watched Game of Thrones, what else he has watched? Maybe he has watched some other shows also, right? So this association rule is to identify that if based on a certain category, certain object, how it can be associated with some other objects based on the other available patterns I have. So that's, you're making some association rule. So based on Game of Thrones, what is the association between some other of your shows, right? So that is where recommendations and all that comes. So that's where your association is all about. So I hope I made my point clear, Rupesh. Uh, okay. Okay, Abhishek. So यार मैं क्या बोल सकता हूँ आपको इसमें, आई थिंक योगा करो. सो मे बी आप यार, आई मीन अगेन जोक्स अपार्ट, if you're not able to focus on learning, yeah, I mean, at least I would say that give some time to yourself. If you like playing cricket, play it for maybe an hour a day. Okay, if you like playing PS, do it for at least an hour a day, right? So engage yourself in some other activity. Do not overburden yourself on only learning. Even I get irritated in sometimes. Sometimes I really take a break from all the things. So it's fine. It's totally fine, right? But again, the thing is, it's more of you have to give yourself some time along with the learning. So you cannot just keep the learning aside, right? But again, if you're not able to focus it, at least try to deviate your mind into some other things which you actually like, okay? And then maybe come back to learning once you have your mindset clear. So that's what I can suggest. But again, it's coming just over or on top of my mind right now. Cool. Anybody has any other question, guys? Maybe we can take a couple of more and then we can wrap up for the day. Cool. So with this, guys, I'll take my leave. So I would suggest I will give you an evening back, right? So thank you so much for being such a patient a group of people, and thank you so much for your questions, right? So what I would do is let's meet tomorrow again, same time 9 p.m. So but tomorrow we're gonna be covering the remaining parts of our seaborn plots. So that's part of our agenda tomorrow. So we're done with our 2 days of workshop. Deep learning is remaining, so I'll take this deep learning part in a separate session. So I'll club all the deep learning concepts in that separate session. So I won't club it with the AIML part. Okay, so I'll take deep learning separately. I'll come to that again. So, but again, tomorrow, as per the agenda, so we'll be going towards back to our seaborn plots. We'll finish the seaborn tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good evening ahead, and see you tomorrow all at 9 p.m. Thank you so much. Bye bye.